Hey everyone, I'm Deb Hotep, Pro Astrologer, Root Cause Coach, and Healer, and welcome to Light Goddess bi-monthly astrology forecast. This is for the Virgo Lunar Eclipse. It's a really rare eclipse, hasn't happened in 18 years. I'm going to get into some of the reasons of what makes it rare exactly and how it's going to affect us. First, let's look at a couple of things. I'll share this with you. So, this eclipse is happening in Central Time on March 14th, with it being astrologically exactly at 1:54 a.m., but you can start viewing it around 10 p.m., close to 11 p.m. Central Time. Adjust for your time zone. You can go look up more exacts for your area. It's going to be visible in the United States. Here is the eclipse in the astrology chart. It's going to be visible in the United States completely, and in South America completely, and then Western Europe and Africa as the moon is rising in the nighttime sky, and then it'll be visible in parts of Eastern Asia during the morning time when the moon would be setting. So astrologically, a lunar eclipse is when there's a full moon, and this lunar eclipse is conjoining, meaning it's going to go and have a conversation and get together with the South Node in Virgo. Some really important things about this. This lunar eclipse is happening at 23 degrees, 56 minutes of Virgo, opposite that Pisces sun in 23 degrees, conjunct Saturn. So the last time that we had this eclipse, it was opposite Uranus in Pisces. Uranus and Pisces, Uranus is breaking up a lot of the stuck illusions and delusions of a Piscean nature. Pisces is and Neptune is all about illusions, falsehood, truth from falsehood. Do you understand the difference? So let's just talk a little bit about eclipses. Normally, we have an eclipse cycle, a new energy beginning and an old energy ending every 6 months, roughly. And right now, we've been having them sort of in the fall and the spring, but that cycle evolves and moves over time. And so we're ending the eclipse cycle of last fall, and we're going into new energies. We're going to have a solar eclipse in Aries on the 29th, and we're having this Virgo lunar eclipse on the 14th of March, this Friday coming up. And here's the thing about this period of time that we're going through right now. We're in a death and rebirth time where there's continually this energy of death and rebirth, like we haven't gone through in a really long time. And there's many reasons why. One is that Neptune, you've probably heard about this, is going into Aries. However, when a planet moves into a new sign, it goes back and forth into that sign, in and out of the old sign and into the new one, back and forth several times. So this whole year is this Neptune cycle of moving out of Pisces and into Aries, and then back into Pisces and out of Aries. And so it's this death and rebirth, death and rebirth. And here's the thing though about Pisces and Aries. Pisces is technically the last zodiac sign of the 12 signs, and Aries is technically the first zodiac sign in the cycle, and therefore Aries, this beginning, this rebirth. Aries is the springtime. It's the astrological new year that's coming up near the 20th of March or so. And every year, that's really the true new year. We typically, with the Gregorian calendar, celebrate the new year in Capricorn season, where it's the fertile void, where it's this feminine yin sign to go within and also to get things done, also to clean up what needs to be cleaned up, make preparations. It's a dedicated time, but it's an internal time of winter. And so we have the astrological new year in springtime, when you want to launch, when the flowers are blooming, when the baby animals are being born, and so on. So Aries is a beginning time. It's the beginning of the zodiac. It's a beginning time of the astrological new year, where Pisces is the ending. So already the Pisces Aries seasonal time every single year is that time of sort of this death before rebirth, where we feel like that balsamic time before the new moon, where we feel like we've lost the plot. We may feel confused. We may feel unmotivated, a loss of energy or physical stamina, emotional, spiritual stamina, or will. Aries is will. So with that normal time, especially February saw this amazing reel about this where this newscaster from Kansas, I think, is like talking about February. It's hilarious. I'll even see if I can link to it in the description box. And make sure you're subscribing here so you can get all of the Light Goddess forecasts coming up, the bi-monthly forecast every month. I've been sort of off for a while, taking time off, but I am back to the bi-monthly forecast, excited and glad to be here with you. So make sure you subscribe to Light Goddess channel so they'll pop up in your feed and you'll know when the forecasts come out every single month, twice a month for sure. And so that February time, I know February is like my worst month of the year every year. It's just like, and it's just that last dredge of the winter, and it's just dreary and gray. And this guy that was doing a forecast on it, he was saying that, it's where people who are being punished go. It was really funny. And there's just no leaves on the trees. Everything's bare. Everything looks dead and dormant, and but yet life still goes on. So Pisces and Aries is already normally a death and rebirth time. And then we have Neptune moving in to Aries and moving in and out of Pisces and Aries all year long before it goes into Aries and starts a new cycle, a new 248-year cycle. So Neptune is completing a 248-year cycle in our lifetime. Not every century does somebody experience that, right? Because it's a long orbit. So a long cycle. And so we're experiencing something rare, which is simply Neptune moving into the first zodiac sign and starting a new cycle through the signs, but also ending a 248-year cycle during our lifetime where we wouldn't be able to experience that whole cycle where we do with Saturn or Jupiter or Uranus, if we live to be 84 at least with Uranus. So we have that happening in that energy all year long anyway. And when we have that happening in that energy at this time of year, every year anyway. And so then with eclipses in general, they cut off the energy of the last eclipse cycle in the fall. And this one being a rare eclipse where the lunar eclipse, the full moon, is conjunct the south node in Virgo. And this hasn't happened for 18 years. This is changing global energies. This is changing our personal energies in our lives, but this is changing things on a global scale. And it's ending an 18-year cycle. So there's also and there's such multiplicity going on. Jupiter being in Gemini is creating an extreme multiplicity. So wherever you've had Jupiter in your chart, you've been doing things multiple times, many times, having a lot of boomerang tasks coming back around. I have it in my fourth house. So amazing, with all of the life tasks and home tasks happening many times. You think you've done that, and then it's the boomerang task that comes back around to your to-do list. So super fun. And so we have this intensity this January when the nodes moved into North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. We've already had an end of a 18, 19-year cycle because the nodes move through the signs, a new sign, a new nodal axis every 18 months. Those are our new emotional lessons that we are meant to have if we were really living true to universal law, cosmic natural law, and living in harmony with ourselves, our habitat, our soul's divine purpose and reason for incarnating, and all of that, which many of us here do in Light Goddess. And so we would be understanding this 18-year cycle is closing. And so what was going on in 2006 for you? That was that nodal axis cycle. And you can see, obviously, 20 years roughly is a long period of time of our lives. And so unless you're older, if you're younger, you're going to be going through, obviously, maybe your teenage years in your 20s, or your 20s and your 30s, or your 30s and your 40s, and so on. So there's just that. A 20-year cycle covers a large span of our lives. But as you are older, You can really look at these 18-year cycles and everything that went down. It's important to honor these long cycles. It's important to honor any cycle. It's important to look at the wisdom gained, look at what you learned, where you've grown, where you've come from, maybe the dreams that have died, or maybe the dreams that need renewed, and also all that you have accomplished, that you have dreamed into reality, that you've learned, how you've grown, where you've come from. Your value system now versus the value system you had at that time in your life and how you've evolved. Life's about evolution. It's all it's about, actually. And so we have that 18-year cycle. But with this eclipse on March 14th, this Friday, we have this 18-year cycle of having a lunar eclipse conjunct the South Node since 2007. And so we have this 18 years that we've been going through. And, it's changing large global energies. This eclipse, let me show you some things here. I love this a lot. This is helping us see, the eclipse is visible from these areas, but like I said, it'll be visible throughout most of the United States. And let me just change this so we can see this. Most of the United States, most of South America, and then it'll be visible in the Western Europe and Africa as the moon's rising at nighttime, and then it'll be visible over here in the morning time. So, if you're in the States or South America, you'll be able to probably see most of the eclipse. And it's happening, starting around 10, 11 p.m. Central Time and moving into like 5 or 6 a.m. Central Time. Adjust for your time zone. So this helps us see the path of the eclipse and just sort of understanding more about a lunar eclipse, that it's when the moon is over here in relationship to the sun and the earth. And so it's in the earth's shadow, as you can see denoted here. And also it makes it appear red. So it's called a blood moon as well. And there's all of the old like sailors forecasts, blood moon. I don't know them. So somebody out on the Atlantic Ocean knows them. And so we have that going down. It's important to understand, kind of get those visuals on an eclipse. So an eclipse is a cutting away. Eclipses are abrupt. Eclipses are sudden. This is can be when your animals leave the earthly plane, leave, go spirit side. This is when your relatives can go spirit side. Take illnesses seriously during eclipse season. Take your health seriously, especially with the Virgo eclipse. Virgo is about health. Virgo is correlated to the sixth house, small animals. Take these things seriously. But you don't have to be overly cautious. You just want to be present, awake, and aware and noticing things and take it seriously. If there's a health concern, go get checked out. Go take care of it. Don't just let yourself, like if you have a fever and the flu, don't let yourself just run it out. Actually help yourself get that fever down. Take good care of yourself. Self-care is huge. So thinking about some of the things about Virgo and Pisces, the Virgo Pisces axis. So the Virgo Pisces is always the beginning of a new 18-year cycle for the nodes because the nodes move backwards. And so that Aries Libra nodal axis that we had the last 18 months prior to January was our emotional lessons for this time period. And I talked about the lunar eclipse, the Libra lunar eclipse at length, and the shadows that we were looking to heal, the Aries, high conscious expressions that we were looking to step into. And that was ending that 18-year cycle. And so we've got the new nodal axis for this 18 months here of the Pisces North Node, where we need to grow to, what we need to invoke, what we need to understand, the lessons we need to learn, and the shadow lessons and healing that we need to learn with the Virgo lunar eclipse, and the Virgo South Node. Virgo is intellectually compartmentalizes. Virgo understands all the little details and all the parts, but sometimes it misses the broad overview, the broad strokes, the broad frameworks, the gestalt, the whole picture. And that's Pisces' areas of expertise. And truly, you understand living in life to be really effective, you need both. You can't just have one or the other really at detriment. Otherwise, it's hard to function. If you're, trying to help people, for example, and you're intellectually compartmentalizing and saying, oh, it's just a simple black and white solution to your thing, you're missing all of these variables. It's easy to spiritually bypass at that point, really discounting systemic and institutional reasons and causes and effects, really dismissing trauma and abuse and all of the various things that people go through that create any one circumstance or situation. So with Virgo, Virgo can sort of miss the overview, the whole picture of something and just look at the pieces and just have a simple, easy answer. And that's not great when you're helping others, when you're serving people, and when you are in a position to really guide others in their empowerment. Virgo's all about health. It's about being in service to something higher. It's when we start to move through the first five signs of the zodiac is all about developing ourselves into a full-fledged person. Virgo's sort of this in-between sign where it's like, okay, now let's get some humility. Let's understand that life is being in service to the whole in some way, using our gifts and matching them up to a social need, to something for a higher purpose, which is that Neptunian calling. And so, really understanding that Virgo can be the servant instead of being in service. So when it's not and it's higher, when it's in its shadow expression, it can really be a servant to others. It can really be not super empowered, and it can really deal with guilt issues big time. A lot of people don't even understand they're having guilt. And so my proprietary emotions method is something I teach all of my members of my exclusive women's membership, Grow and Light Goddess. The link's below if you're interested in checking that out. And like, we want to understand guilt. We want to be able to identify it, because guilt will make you behave in ways that will absolutely not get you the results that you want in your life. You will be doing things that you don't really want to be doing, and you'll feel like you have to because of that guilt. Guilt is a horrible emotion to have active in your psyche, in your energy field, because it's not going to serve you and create results that you want to create. There's learned guilt and earned guilt. Earned guilt's where we do something shitty and we feel that our conscience kick in. And that's earned guilt. But it doesn't mean, like, once you get the lesson of like, okay, I shouldn't really do that, or that's not really treating people well, etc., then you can move on. You don't have to live with that guilt forever. You're not sentenced to it. But people live with guilt. They come in from past lives with guilt, and just let themselves live with that, and their lives are affected very much. I mean, an example is a mom, just taking care of every little detail of the house, because the guilt is making her think that, like, if she hires somebody to do the busy work of the home so that she can spend more time with her kids, that somehow that's whatever it is, whatever the story is in her mind. The guilt is making her, always think that she's not spending enough time with her kids when the kids are fine if you ask them. It's her belief and story around it. And once you just release the guilt, she's released from that story. And I teach clients to release guilt in 5 to 7 minutes. And it's so powerful because the transformation on the other side of that is so crazy. Instead, the mom just changes things, asks the kids what they need. They might need like a little bit more time with mom each night, but they really are actually fine. They're reporting. Come to find out, the mom actually wants more time with the children. So she decides to hire somebody to do, the household tasks that she doesn't need to be doing, and spends an extra hour with their kiddos every night, and gets that important time in those, years of their life where they're under 15 years old and so forth, and has those memories, making those memories and spending that time that she wants with the children. So that's just an example of how guilt can make us behave really oddly. Guilt can make you stay in an abusive, toxic relationship for years because you feel guilty. The guilt is just this erroneous story going on. So Virgo deals with guilt. There's there's learned guilt from the culture and the overculture. And the culture is an abuser. I talk about this all the time, which means that the culture is gaslighting you, making you believe you're bad or wrong, making you believe that if you stand up and call abuse out, that you're being judgmental, etc. And we're all waking up from this. Pisces is all about understanding truth from falsehood, and you need that ability. But Virgo is no less fooled. You know, Virgo, again, is sort of fooled by guilt. Virgo is fooled by, like, oh, these are the lines I must color in between. This is how things must go, this perfectionism issue. Pisces and Virgo both have a form of perfectionism, but it's different. Virgo has that perfectionism of it must be perfect, you know, as if that exists. And Pisces has this ultimacy, like this ideal way things are supposed to look and be, and both suffer the consequences of that. So needing to really get out of that and let those things go. You can't be, there is no perfection. And you know, that Virgo energy has to realize that it's about the ability to improve. The 12 signs are actually principles of life. And so we need to use that Virgo energy to improve things, to be excellent, to strive for a level of excellency and quality. But beyond that, it's really detrimental, and it will stop you from getting a lot accomplished because you won't push the publish button, and you'll just keep analyzing in your mind. Because Virgo, while it's an earth sign, it's ruled by Mercury. And so it's a very analytical earth sign. And so it just analyzes and analyzes and analyzes. So wherever you have your Virgo house in your chart, it's analyzing like crazy. And if you want to come work with me in an astrology reading, you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com and book that today. The link is below as well. And so with Virgo, we're shedding all of these Virgo shadows. We're learning Virgo lessons that perfectionism isn't real, that we can strive to do high quality work, but at some point you got to push that publish button. We're learning lessons about our health and the importance of that, importance of self-care. If we don't take care of ourselves, get enough sleep, drink water, enough water when we're thirsty, eat when we need to eat, and take care of our body and really listen to the signals of our body instead of overworking, which is the overculture, you know, teaches this cult-like bullshit of overworking, sacrificing your self-worth, your self-care, and your health. For what exactly does that supposedly create? So we really have to be aware and onto these false ideas of reality that we've really been programmed to buy into, and really take back our personal power to decide for ourselves and take great care of our health and our body and ourself, and really value self-care at the highest level. If you're not a fully resourced woman, you're not going to be able to function at that high Virgo level that you want to. So, you know, we've talked about, let's get back to the chart. And then I'm just going to sort of close this up here, y'all. So we've talked about the eclipses in general, that here's something really helpful. It's the lunar eclipse conjunct the south node, making it a south node eclipse, on top of which, you know, a lunar eclipse in your natal birth chart, a lunar eclipse is all about what you need to learn, and a solar eclipse is all about what lessons you're here to teach. And so, looking at that idea, you know, what are we meant to learn and understand from this? Where are we meant to heal and resolve things? And what's fascinating is that there's a trine, a harmonious relationship to Uranus and Taurus, Taurus being the earth, Uranus being new, innovations, and new earth. Also, with Uranus and Taurus, all about breaking up all of the old fixed earth, static ideas, ways of being, ways of doing life that no longer serve us. With the sextiles, again, a positive relationship to Saturn and the sun. Opposite this eclipse, always, of course, the full moon is opposite the sun, and the sun is conjunct the north node and Saturn. Saturn, people tend to fear Saturn or find Saturn challenging, but I love Saturn transits because they help you get shit accomplished. If you have heavy Capricorn or Saturn influences in your chart, you might already deal with that and need to have sort of back off that energy and be able to context switch better, be able to make sure you're doing great self-care. Make sure that you are awake and aware and getting lots of play and pleasure and other balance to your life. But if you don't have that energy in your chart, like using Saturn transits to your benefit, Saturn wants to mature us. It wants to keep us close to our soul purpose, the purpose of our soul, why we incarnated. Saturn will help us really get things accomplished. It really knows how to put its head down, get something done. But again, you have to pay attention to your needs and your self care and making sure that's included as part of that. But use Saturn to your benefit with these. I'm putting this out on the 10th on Monday, using this to your benefit to Friday as the sun is conjuncting Saturn. And we have this harmonious relationship between Uranus and this lunar eclipse, whereas the last time this happened 18 years ago in 2007, Uranus was in Pisces opposite the lunar eclipse. And so Uranus can denote trauma and where there's been spiritual abuse and Uranus breaking up those old things, bringing awakening and awareness to what was hidden, Pisces, what's hidden, what is invisible, unseen, or hard to see. With the North Node in Pisces being conjunct Neptune, Neptune being in its home sign, ending this cycle throughout this whole year in Pisces, these lessons of truth from falsehood. We've been learning these lessons really heavily since 2020. We've gotten this extra dose, this extra cosmic, major in understanding truth from falsehood, but so many people aren't seeing it. I don't know how many times I'm on a reel that's AI generated that everybody is commenting on as if it's real, as if this is reality, that these two animals, for example, that would never play together are like being best friends. And everybody's commenting like, oh, this is so amazing. And it's AI generated. Here's the thing about Pluto and Aquarius. These 20 years are going to be about us really seeing that we are not seeing truth from falsehood, really understanding that we're not being discriminating with the information coming in. Aquarius is information, and we're having a barrage, a absolute flooding of information through AI, through the morphogenic field expanding because of the interaction of those two with humans and AI together. Be careful about putting your proprietary information into AI because it will spit it out to other people. It scans everything it touches. Be aware of Apple Intelligence, which just stands for AI. It's Apple's version of AI, just like ChatGPT is open source or open AI's version of AI. So just be aware that Apple, for example, is trying to turn Apple Intelligence on with every single update that you have so it can scan and have access to all your personal data. On the one hand, how much of our personal data is really that private anymore? But on the other hand, I'm not just going to give access to everything, you know, um, and just say, here you go. So be aware of that for yourself. If you have Apple products, I would fight back. I would make sure to get on the forums. I'd make sure to tell Apple, like, no, we need Apple Intelligence not integrated with Apple products, or I'm going to start using Linux. I love Apple because it's built on Linux system. So, so that's why I like Apple and the interface. I can just have an interface created for myself and I don't have to use Apple products. I can use their hardware, not their operating system. So if they keep integrating AI with their system, I'm out. And we have to stand up as people and say, no, you don't get to have all my personal data. We have to protect our freedoms, our privacy. Democracy requires privacy. And while we haven't had a democracy for a really long time, it's an oligarchy, we need to do everything we can to protect it. I mean, if things keep going such as they are, expat might be the option for many people in the US. I mean, things are really, it's like no one noticed that Musk was taking over the US government. I mean, and he's been doing so ever since he's gotten contracts with our government to cover technology areas that the government isn't covering. This has been dangerous for a really long time. Now it's just visible. Pluto makes things visible. So Pluto, in Aquarius, Aquarius is technology, innovations, information, and Pluto is saying what was subconscious is coming out into visibility. My bird's gonna sing. I'm letting you know about it. Pluto is revealing everything that's going down. Be careful with all the information you're taking in. Discriminate it. learn the Pisces lesson, North Node in Pisces, Neptune leaving Pisces and in Pisces for this last year. Truth from falsehood. Can you tell the difference? Are you navigating this world with your intuition? You got to develop your intuition, first of all, which is a journey in and of itself. It's not a quick button thing. So you got to get started on that as soon as possible. You need to learn how to navigate this world with your intuition, with your inner compass. You need to understand the difference between your intuition and your fears, your intuition and your wounds, your intuition and your self-doubt. Really got to tell the difference between those things. Really own your own triggers as the best doorway into the most healing that you could ever provide for yourself. And the Virgo Pisces axis is all about healing as well. It's about also the deep subconscious material on the Pisces side, the past life material. What you've been through in past lives that are apropos to this life ripple out into this life. Are you awake and aware? Are you understanding what that is? If you have malnutrition in a past life, it's going to ripple into this life and you're going to deal with it so it can be healed. Anything that's arising is arising to be healed, but we don't know how to heal. And that's why I do what I do. I help my clients actually heal and heal completely. And if you'd like to find out more about Grow, my exclusive women's membership, or to work with me one-on-one personally, you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com. It's also where you can book an astrology reading with me and to work on your personal astrology. I have 2 options at different price points so that everyone has access to their personal astrology. This eclipse is big. I personally think the intensity has finally come off this week. You should have had some breakthroughs. Wherever this eclipse is at, wherever the Virgo house in your chart is at, that's where this eclipse is happening for you personally. And, look at that house. You're having revolutions in that house. You're having learnings, and don't buy into everything you see. Like, really be able to look, at your brain and see, like, what stories is my mind creating? What stories are real? What stories have some truth to them? Do be the detective. So, eclipses bring intensity, eclipses bring endings. A lot of people move on from the earthly plane, animals. A lot of people lose jobs, move, sudden disasters and crises. So be aware of all these things. Be more careful when you drive. Be more careful when you're, moving heavy objects in your home or going up and down stairs, things like this. Be more aware and present because it really does impact all of these things. It impacts the nature of our consciousness and thinking and perceiving and so on. So big eclipse cycle that we're in. The Aries eclipse will be back with you for that. It's happening the 29th. And I look forward to doing a forecast for that. Make sure you subscribe, share this forecast with other women. I'm trying to think if there's any last things that want to be denoted here that are important. The last time we had this lunar eclipse, it was opposite Uranus. Now it's opposite Saturn and Neptune. So Neptune is our spiritual motivations for our lifetime. Wherever you have Neptune in your chart, you swing from ultimacy or idealism to fuck it or meaninglessness. And there's that swing. So look at in your natal birth chart and see where you have it in your natal birth chart, because that is where you deal with that swing. And it's finding, whenever we have these extremes, it's finding our way to the middle. And the only way to truly find your way to the middle naturally is by going through the full spectrum of the extremes and experiencing everything. We must experience. That's what the earthly plane is about. But so many of us are bucking our experiences and saying, no, I want to stay safe. I want to stay comfortable. I want to not deal with any sort of difficulty or darkness or crises or happenings. But that's not why we came to Earth. We came to Earth to do big things. If you're here in Light Goddess, likely you're a heart-centered femalepreneur. My women's membership is exclusively for heart-centered femalepreneurs that are here to change this world for the better. We are all growing and rising and making money together, making huge impact in this world. And so definitely check that out on empoweredwomenrise.com. And this is an intense time, but make sure you extract the wisdom and the value, alchemize the difficulties for your greatest wisdom and growth. That's all this life is actually about, is growth. So I'm sending you so much love. Can't wait to be here for the next forecast. Make sure you subscribe so that these videos will pop up in your feed. And links are below if you want to come work with me on your personal astrology, or you can go to empoweredwomenrise.com. Lots of love, everyone.